Hey there, it's Lacy J from Space Bear Media, the makers of Lost in My 40s. Did you know that you can go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, including our weekly video pre-shows where your hosts ponder ethical questions related to the week's episode and answer some fun questions just for, well, fun. Speaking of fun, if you have it thanks to our content, please consider rating or reviewing Lost in My 40s on your favorite app, or recommend us to a friend who loves Lost. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Lost in My 40s. We are at Season 2, Episode 17, Lockdown. It's a Locke episode. It's a Derek episode. I'm on my third Kahlua and coffee. Let's party. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm all right, fellas. How you doing?
Oh, yeah. Not too bad.
Good.
Not too bad.
All right. Let's see. Where should we start?
You know when you're having your third Kahlua and coffee, you realize you have a problem at that point.
Yeah, so what?
Okay. Just
I
making sure.
blame it all on the pandemic. Forever and ever. It doesn't matter if it ends. It's always going to be the pandemic's fault.
I actually run a monthly budget for us, and there's a line item in our monthly budget for Kahlua now. Just for Kahlua.
Oh, you're such a liar. Would you please give us an update on our power rankings, Benjamin?
Sure. Where we ended last time was with Echo with 114 points. Strong
he hasn't
first
actually
place finish.
gained, but he hasn't gained points in weeks, right? It's just nobody can catch him.
Yeah, it was sort of like Kate I think it was Kate, like the first season, where she just jumped up so fast because everyone was basically like gang fucking her, and then she just like hit a plateau and just so yeah, he's been at the same at that plateau for a really, really long time, but there's nobody even close. Locke is in second place with 70 points, so
we do have another Echo
points behind him.
Yeah, there is another Echo episode before the season ends, so we'll see what happens there. But
and then we have Kate
in our worst
in third place at 53 points, and then at our worst we've got Charlie, Randy Douchebag Nations, and Ethan riding in on his Xenu horse, bringing in the rear for at least a week.
Alrighty then, Derek, you ready to tell us about Locke?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, the episode starts in a flashback, and it shows Locke opening his sock drawer and removing a pair of socks that has a ring hidden inside. He takes it out.
Notice how tan he looks in this episode?
Yeah, he does look tan in this.
He's like super tan.
Too. That's weird.
I feel like they must have come back from shooting or whatever. And I mean, I guess if you're shooting in Hawaii, how do you end up not being fucking tan? But for whatever reason, when he's not on the island, he's tanner than he ever is on the island. So.
Well, I think they were making him look younger. And then also at that point in his life, he was not in a wheelchair. So maybe he was getting out in the sunshine more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess there's that.
That's true.
I think everything that they were trying to do, I think they're trying to make him look more healthy. Not just like healthy, like physically, but more like in a healthy place, in a happy place, all those things.
Yeah, he's got like a healthy glow and about to propose
and he did not
Bundy.
have Jack's wig maker working for him. So, his hair was at least somewhat convincing.
Yes.
All right. So he wants to propose.
Yep, he takes the ring out, looks at it, then it cuts to him packing a picnic lunch for him and Helen. Or for him, and Helen asks him, what did she do to deserve this, day out? And Locke replies, can a fella take his girl out for a picnic just because?
So if he takes her out to a picnic with a basket, is it Helen a handbasket?
Oh, God damn it.
Oh. Starting early.
No, that...
Did you write that one down ahead of time?
I bet he did.
No, I just thought of it. But why? No, why didn't anybody answer? Like, it's a question. Somebody answer it.
Yes, it's Helen handbasket.
Thank
win.
you. Okay.
Oh my God.
So Helena Handbasket asks where he's taken her, but he says he isn't telling and to go read the obituaries and drink her coffee, like she must do every morning. She replies that the obits are the nicest part of the paper because nobody says anything mean about people after they die.
I do.
Which is not true.
No, it's
I
not.
mean,
I've
I
seen
do.
some
Fuck you. If you were an
lately,
asshole when you were alive, you're an asshole when you're dead. I hate that.
Well,
shit.
I've
don't
read some
speak ill of the dead.
obituaries. Yeah, I've read
Where they're
some
brutal, yeah.
obituaries.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. There's some really
Basically, that
good
they were
ones
a
out
piece
there.
of shit and
Yeah, you
All
really,
right.
really, really gotta hate somebody to go out of your way to write something about them posthumously to go into a fucking newspaper. Like,
Yeah.
that is
And pay for
that
it.
is and
Yeah.
pay for it. Yeah,
That is a way to
Like,
get the final word.
Yeah, I've
Hey,
got
asshole,
to
you're dead.
that's true. You can't say anything back.
I'm going to
fucker.
tell
Yeah.
everybody what an asshole you are. I can think of a
I've
few
also
people I
seen
might
some,
want to do that too.
I've also seen
Please
some like
don't.
headstones that are like, he was a fucking asshole, or, just.
No.
Yeah,
Now that's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah. You
Permanent.
can put whatever you want on there.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
great.
imagine if you're settling the estate for somebody you fucking hated.
Yeah.
Like,
All right,
just make
well-
sure you know who's handling your estate and who
Yeah, make sure you name the right executor.
exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've got some ideas now. If everybody wants to know who it's about, you should go listen to Space Bear Media's other podcast, Mowage. When you get to the end of that, you'll know who I'm talking about.
I haven't
Anyway.
even listened to that episode
Oh,
yet,
see,
but I
then-
know what you're talking
then
about.
don't die before Lacy.
Damn.
Ben. Whew. All right. Shall we talk
Yes.
about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
episode
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
no? Okay. All right.
So then Helen asks Locke what his father's name is, and he tells him that his father, Anthony Cooper, is dead.
Mm.
So
I love
back in
this
the
scene, by the way. It's sweet. It's really sweet. Their interactions are sweet. I'm loving them as a couple, which is, of course, what they did to break our hearts at the end of this episode.
Sure.
But
yes.
yeah. Anyway.
So back in the hatch where it is day 61, Locke and Jack are at the table with Henry Gale, and Jack asks Henry to draw a map to his balloon again. Henry says he was just joking and says there's nothing out there beside his balloon and apologizes for saying it earlier. Locke says it's too late because she is long gone, and Jack replies with, "What's done is done," and Locke replies, "That's right." Jack tells Locke to put Henry back in the armory and leaves. Henry then asks Locke, "Why do you let him talk to you like that?"
Oh man.
So
Just stirring it
manipulative.
up, man.
Oh, he
Stirring it up.
loves he just every little jab he can get in there. Like he just injects doubt and like misgivings into every situation.
He's an incredible manipulator.
It's beautiful.
Well, and Locke knows it, but he still falls for it.
So Locke tells him to shut up and drags him to the armory, and we cut to the jungle, and it is pouring. Saeed tells Ana Lucia that they've been searching for 3 hours and the balloon doesn't exist. He tells her he drew the map because Anna told Henry she would protect him whether they found the balloon or not, giving them 2 more days to figure out how to escape and stall. Charlie finds Charlie calls him over, and he found Henry's wife's grave, and Anna notices that it's not raining over the grave. They look up and see the balloon in the trees. And we cut to the lost title screen.
It just when I saw that every time I see that now, all I go is "Have a nice day."
Yep. All right, so back on the beach, Hurley is doing something with his shelter when Jack walks up and asks if he's seen Anna. Hurley replies that she took off into the jungle with Saeed and Charlie the day before, and Jack asks if they said where they were going, but Hurley replies that is assuming that anyone actually tells him anything and that he is not in the loop.
Oh.
And it's funny because like it was Arzt that was bitching to him some time ago about not being in the clique.
Yeah, when
that's
they were
right,
at
before
when they
balloons
were at the
got
Black
blown up.
Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you tell the fat guy anything, everybody's going to know.
That's
Well,
right.
That's true,
apparently.
and that's probably maybe, and especially
Why
with
he's
things
not
like
in the
with
loop
Sawyer,
anymore.
Right.
yeah, with Sawyer stealing guns and all that type of shit. You know, it's you up the ante, man. Like you're a security risk now.
Security risk.
So Charlie comes up with Aaron, who is crying, and she tells Jack that he is hot, but Jack says the fever is completely gone, and he is not just saying that. Libby walks up asking if the doctor is still in, and she shows him her hand that was cut by a sea urchin. Jack says it's not infected, but Neosporin would help. Libby looks over at Sawyer playing cards and said she thinks the current rate of exchange is 10 loads of laundry for a tube.
Oy.
So in the armory,
Does he even own 10 loads of laundry worth of clothing?
I know, right?
That is a lot of laundry
on the island.
Yeah.
This ain't no Neiman Marcus.
Oh. Where's Sawyer?
So in the armory, Henry is reading while Locke is on an exercise bike listening to a jazz record, it sounds like. He starts hearing a voice and static coming through the loudspeakers.
I like even before you hear the voice come in, I like the fact that they're playing like the jazz that they're playing. It's this sort of chaotic, not
all
cacophonous.
jazz?
Not like smooth.
No, it's not all jazz.
Okay.
There's all kinds of jazz, but this specific jazz was very kind of the tempo and the sort of freeness of it felt a little, a little edgy, which I thought was a really good probably characterization of where his mind was at the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like
That
he's
makes
on the
sense,
bike
yeah.
and he's just sort of churning away, and this thing is going, and it's like it's a good representation of how I imagine his brain is at this point after
Yeah,
Henry
because his
just
brain is moving through Henry's being manipulative, but he's right.
Right.
And like he's got a lot going on.
he's on Henry's hamster wheel basically.
Yeah.
That's an excellent analogy.
Yeah, you're right. Fucking Henry.
So he stops the music and goes into the computer room, but sees nothing on the monitor except the usual flashing cursor. The countdown timer shows 47 minutes. And so he walks over to the speaker, and when he tries to adjust it with a screwdriver, there's very loud feedback, which causes Henry to sit up and ask what it was. He asks,
Shut up, Henry.
Locke-
Sorry.
Shouldn't you get Jack?
He says that shortly, I think.
Yes. He asks Locke, what is the matter? But Locke just stares at the speaker, and we go to flashback number 2.
And you can hear, it's very faint, but you can hear the first time the speaker crackles, it says 20 minutes to lockdown.
Yeah.
And then the second time it says 17 minutes to lockdown. But it's very, very faint. You almost can't hear it.
So in the flashback, Locke and Helen arrive at his father's funeral in the cemetery, and she asks if he is sure he wants to go to do this, and they could just go on the picnic, but Locke says, soon we'll go on the picnic. He stares at his father's casket for a bit, and Helen jokes maybe he left you his other kidney.
I love that.
Everybody, he
Such a
just looks
great
sternly
moment.
at her, and he's like, too soon, Helen, too
Yeah.
soon.
No, he didn't. He smiled and he laughed. And
Yes,
like you can
I know.
tell that she's good for him. And
Yeah.
knowing what happens at the end of this episode, it's fucking heartbreaking because like they seem to
Yeah.
be a really good, happy couple, but he just cannot fucking let go.
He cannot.
Nope,
I
he
imagine.
cannot.
I imagine him sitting there and like just getting like completely pissed off that she said that, and then he's like, "Oh, you know what else, Helen? Hey, another joke. What was that entire service missing? Organ music? Yeah, real funny, Helen. Just keep on going."
All right, that one he wrote down. I know it. I know it.
Yeah. I didn't write it down that way. I had a better delivery written, but
Well,
The whole thing makes me
great.
think of the scene in Steel Magnolias where they're
in the
sitting
cemetery.
there playing Go Fish
Oh,
No.
okay, yeah,
before the kidney surgery.
right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. And they're making fun. Yeah. Oh god, I'm gonna cry about that movie.
I've only
We need
seen
to
that
move
movie
on.
once because I don't have a vagina.
Yeah, oh, that's true.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it because I don't have a vagina.
Oh my god,
It's a good
it's
movie.
a good
It's a
movie anyway.
It's a good movie, especially
But yeah,
if you have a
it's-
vagina.
It's definitely a girl power movie for sure.
Yeah.
So they both chuckle about that, and they ends up they're the only ones at the graveside service. Locke looks over and sees 2 creepy guys hanging out nearby looking at him. As the service concludes, he also notices a silver car with tinted windows idling by. The priest asks if John wants to say anything. He stands up and tells the casket, "I forgive you," and the silver car drives off in a hurry.
Like, wow. That's a big moment. And in this moment, you almost think like, okay, good, it's done. There's closure. He can propose to Helen and they can live happily ever after. But of
I
course,
love
this is
it.
lost.
Until he
so-
gets to the
They
plane
should have
crash.
just had their picnic right there after
Yeah.
that.
on the casket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Anywho.
So back in the hatch, the static continues, but you can make out some sort of countdown starting at 30, 29, 28. Henry keeps calling out to John, asking what is going on, and Locke tells him to be quiet. But Henry keeps on insisting, so Locke yells at him, "Will you shut up?" And the countdown continues at 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, when Henry says, "Maybe you should go get Jack," which causes Locke to walk towards the armory door, telling him to shut up again.
Man,
Yeah, he was
Henry
pissed.
is...
He got pissed.
God, he's so good. And can we just stop for like a sec? The casting, the actor who plays Henry
Oh,
is
he's
brilliant.
great.
he's a fucking miracle for this show. Like he is
Yeah.
just so good. He makes my skin crawl. He makes me want to reach into the TV and strangle his smug little face. And he's just so fucking good. He's so good.
And he's sticking with it, even though he's been shot with an arrow, beaten the fuck out of, you know, like he's still just like, nope, I'm just going to continue with what I'm doing.
Yeah. You see this early in the show that he is a formidable character right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the countdown continues with 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you hear a tone, and the blast doors come down, sealing off the kitchen and armory area from the outside. It even covers the window by the table. As the final door is coming down, Locke slides a crowbar under it to prevent it from closing completely, and Henry is just sitting in the armory and asks, "What happened?"
And don't you have a feeling where you're like, I think you know what happened, Henry? Like, I don't know how you
Yeah.
did it, but I feel like somehow you managed to do that from in the armory. That's where my head was when I was,
Yeah.
at least first
Yeah, I
watching
definitely was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I was like, what? I think you know what happened, Henry.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but Henry does. So back on the beach, Hurley, Kate, and Sawyer are playing Texas Hold'em, which at the time was very popular.
Oh
Yeah, it was,
it was all over the TV at the time. Everything Texas
That's when I
Hold'em.
started playing it, actually, because it
Really?
was Chris Moneymaker. He won the main event in 2003. He took $40 and turned it into $2.5 million, and there was
Oh.
a big article about it, and so people decided, hey, I can do it too.
No, most
I don't
people-
know if
No.
it was I don't know if it was real, but I saw a picture where Kim Kardashian was like in a poker.
It's all fake.
Okay, with the mirror
Well, no,
sunglasses.
she's fake. No,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
true. That's
No,
true.
that's true. Yeah, no.
That
She
part is
was
true.
dumb enough. She was dumb enough to play poker
Yes,
with mirrored sunglasses on. Yes,
That's real.
that actually.
that is real.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, that's real.
Motherfucker. Even if I was playing against her, I
Motherfucker.
think I would have been like,
Honey,
Kim.
honey, I can see your cards.
yeah, bad idea. You're stupid.
No, I would have been like, you
would've-
got a lot
No,
of
fuck
money
that.
that you,
Yeah.
You have a lot of
that's
money for
mine.
doing. You have a lot
got
of money
way-
for doing absolutely nothing.
Way more
That's
money
true,
than
yeah.
brains, darling.
Take
Way
your
more
money.
money than
Okay.
brains.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
I'm
about
on board
that.
with that.
I don't know about that. She's studied and like she wants to be an attorney like her father. I don't know that she's stupid. I'm not prepared to say she's just fully
Well,
stupid.
We know
I
she's
think
situationally stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess so. Yeah, and
she
it's
also
not, she
married
hasn't
Kanye.
done. Well, there's that. She hasn't done nothing. I mean, she owns businesses and stuff. She's just somebody who grew up with a lot of advantage, and it's annoying.
They're one of those
to-
people that I call famous for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she was famous because her sex tape
'Cause
got
her-
released, but yeah.
Yeah.
We released a sex tape. Would we be famous? No.
I guess it depends on the quality.
Yeah. Well, the Paris Hilton one was pretty bad. It was, I think it was
Production
green.
value. Yeah.
Well, we've got Space Bear Media behind us, so you know.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. We can make
Yeah,
good
it's
porn.
nothing you want more than Space Bear Media behind you.
Hey.
Yeah, I guess I set that one right up for you.
Yep. Hurley bets 4 papayas, but Sawyer says he can't bet because he already bet and his only choices are call, raise, or lay them down, and calls him mutton chops.
God.
Hurley looks at Kate and she tells him don't look at her when Jack walks up and tells Hurley to lay them down. He's got you beat. Hurley says he has a killer hand, but Jack says he has a baby straight and Sawyer has the flush. Kate then asks what does she have, and he says it doesn't matter because she's just playing for fun, and again tells Hurley not to call. Sawyer gets mad and calls him Amarillo Slim, which is actually a guy who won the main event in 1972. Little trivia.
I looked that up.
Really?
I Googled. I was like, who is Amarillo Slim?
You better be a winner
we
at
just skipped
something
over
if
the-
your name is Amarillo Slim.
I guess. We just skipped over the part when Jack told her that she was only playing for fun, and she was like, yeah, fun's good. You should try it sometime.
Yeah.
Anyways, Amarillo Slim.
And tells him just because he watches poker on TV doesn't mean he can play with the big boys.
Oh, God, he's such a blowhard.
Then he says, why don't you put your mangoes where your mouth is?
It would have been funny if
put
Jack
my
just
mangoes-
ate a mango and was like,
Yeah, start eating it. Yeah, here it is.
I would put my mangoes where his mouth is. Just FYI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Jack says he has to get back to the hatch, but Sawyer says hatch ain't going nowhere. And tells him that's where he tells him to put his mangoes where his mouth is.
There you
So
go,
he
okay.
decides he can play a hand or two.
All right.
Yeah, I'd say like with Kate with saying like you play, it's fun. It's like, hey, we could finish up that game of 3-hole we never finished.
Hey.
Yeah. It's like
strip
Mr.
poker
Echo
with her.
interrupted us on the first hole, and I've been thinking about those other 2 holes for a while.
Oh, my God.
So in the hatch, the lights start to flicker, and Locke tries to pry the door open with the crowbar, but it's not working very well. So Henry asks again what the noises were and what is wrong, but Locke replies nothing is wrong, obviously not believing that. Can you see on his face? So we go to flashback number 3, and Locke is finishing up a home inspection for a woman who's purchasing the home.
It's Nadia.
Oh.
It's Nadia.
That's Nadia.
Holy fuck. Wow. Yeah, you're right. It is.
I
forgot.
kind of got that you didn't get that reading the outline that you wrote, but yeah, that's Nadia.
Yeah, it didn't hit me at the time. I had forgotten that was her, and that she was in LA because she shows up in later seasons. We get some more on her life in Los Angeles. The thing I loved about this scene was that he says to her something about like, I think you and your husband have a pretty nice house. And she's like, well, if I had a husband, I'm sure he'd be happy to hear that. And I love that the writers put that in there because it wasn't really necessary for him to insult her that way. They just sort of like put in this little feminist moment where they're like, don't assume I have a husband, asshole. And I fucking loved it.
Well, I don't think that he was. I don't think that he intended to insult her.
Of course he didn't, but that's the point, is that people, they don't intend to insult women. It just happens when you make assumptions about their relationship status and whether or not they need or have a husband. So I loved that little moment where...
it was pretty great.
She
and
got to be like,
considering
fuck
that
off.
it was, 2005?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So after that exchange, he walks back to his truck and notices the same silver car from the cemetery. He walks over to the car, and the driver's side windows roll down, revealing his father,
Cooper.
Dun,
It's
dun,
Mr. Cooper.
dun.
who says, "Hello, son," to a stunned Locke. So now they're at a bar, and John asks, what does his father want? And he tells him what he did to him was wrong, and Locke says, you stole my kidney.
I can't believe
Mr.
he's
Cooper-
even sitting in the bar with him. He should have just punched him in the face and
the car,
gone on with
yeah.
his life. Yeah. Ridiculous.
It would have been a better result if he would have.
I think it would have been funny if he just
Curiosity.
turned.
Right.
His
He just walks
curiosity
away
was
Pulls
the
out a
best of
knife
them.
and cuts the kidney back out and takes it.
That's a little
It's
extreme.
mine.
Yeah, I was thinking like when Mr. Cooper's talking to him in the car, he just turns around, farts, crop dusts him, and walks away. That would have been like,
Oh my goodness gracious.
Mr. Cooper tells him he was dying, and Locke answers, "You could have just you could have just asked me."
Yeah. Why didn't you just ask?
Because his dad doesn't know how to function that way. He's a con man to his core.
Yeah.
you have to take.
And Locke asks again, what does he want? And his father says he killed himself off because there are 2 men after him. And Locke replies with, what did you do? Steal their livers?
Ah.
They wouldn't be walking
They wouldn't be
around if
alive.
they did.
No.
You kind of need that liver.
You can donate part of it.
Yeah,
true.
that's true now.
Liver is a living donor
Yeah,
thing.
a lobe. You can do a lobe.
Mr. Cooper says he took them for $700,000 on a retirement con. Not sure what that is, but... And that the money is in the safe deposit box, and he needs Locke to go to the bank to get the money in case the guys are waiting there for him. So Mr. Cooper puts the key on the bar, and Locke says, do you think I'm stupid? So Mr. Cooper says he can take $200,000 of it, and that piques his interest.
I do think you're stupid because you're sitting there at this bar listening to this man talk. So yeah. I kind of do think you're being really fucking stupid in this moment.
And I think it's funny because Mr. Cooper says, that's the best I can do, right? Like, yeah, all this other stuff has happened, but you can have 200,000. That's the best I can do. I'd be thinking 700 grand is sitting there. It'll be in my possession and I have to bring it to you and you're leaving either way. So I don't think 200 is the best you can do.
Steal the fucking money.
Here's my thing. It seems to me that if the bad guys might be waiting for Anthony Cooper to go to the bank and get it,
yeah, then
why
they're
wouldn't
waiting for
they
you
also
to
be looking for Locke?
Because they already know what Locke looks like.
Exactly, they saw him at the funeral. So of course they would be.
But has Locke made that connection?
It was
no.
Locke's not stupid.
I guess not.
Locke's not stupid.
No, but he acts a fool every time he has any sort of interaction with his father. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. His father's putting him in the same, like, it's one of those episodes where they show him on the, on the hamster wheel for Henry, and then they go back and he's on the same fucking hamster wheel for his old man. Like,
yeah,
he can't.
That's sad. It's just like, if I do this, will you love me and stop stealing my organs? And it's just like, no, he's not going to. He's a bad guy. Like, he's a legitimate bad guy. Yeah,
he's a villain.
Yes.
So Mr. Cooper said that's the best he can do and that he'll be at the Flightline Motel until tomorrow, and then he'll be gone, money or no money. And he tells John that if he doesn't see him again, he understands. So in the hatch, John finally tells Henry that they were locked in because the blast doors came down and sealed the living area off. Henry asked if Locke tried to pry the doors open, and Locke said he tried, but he needs Henry's help. But Henry will help only if Locke gives his word that he'll protect them from the originals. Locke says if he is who he says he is, he has nothing to worry about. But Henry says things have happened to them that he had nothing to do with, but they have no one to blame but him. So Locke... So Locke opens the door and asks Henry, who are you? And Henry replies, my name is Henry Gale. I'm from Minnesota. And I crashed on this island just like you. So Locke gives him his word.
I don't believe him.
Locke, he's so trusting of the wrong people.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
He just wants to be accepted so badly.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. It's sad.
Yeah.
So on the beach, Jack is kicking ass at the poker game. He has all of the fruit as Henry and Kate fold their hands.
There's like a pile of fruit 2 feet high sitting next to him.
Sawyer only has 3 papayas left, but he believes he won the hand with his set of queens. But then Jack lays down his pocket kings to make a set, beating Sawyer, who looks totally defeated.
Oh, I love what he says here. Go ahead.
Well, Hurley says, whoa dude.
my favorite was when he does this. Sawyer's talking about, oh, Doc, you think you're in my head or whatever, and he lays down the pocket kings, and he's like, yeah, well, but at least I'm not in your head. That was one of my favorite lines in this.
Yeah.
So Jack says that's it, but Sawyer wants to keep playing, even though he's totally busted. He tells Jack to name the stakes, and Jack says it's just a pile of fruit, and Sawyer says he wants it back. Kate asks if she needs to go get a ruler.
I love that.
Yeah, the dick measuring contest.
Fucking hilarious.
The first thing I'd be like, there's a ruler?
Yeah.
was there one on the plane?
I guess.
Could have been.
I don't know how very many people that travel with rulers. I guess if you've got kids in school on vacation or something like that.
You don't know a lot
yeah.
of mathematictions that
Well,
need
if
to
the
do
pilots had an
geometry on the
E6
fly.
If the pilots had an E6B, which was like old school, how they used to fly, that has a ruler on it. 'Cause that's how they plot their courses.
Well,
How
there
many
you go.
mathematicians are using a fucking ruler to do seeing on the plane with their
I'm just
with their
saying.
Yeah,
compass?
they wouldn't.
Why did they just
Come
break
with their,
out?
their pocket protector.
Yeah, seriously. I let me pull my abacus out of the fucking overhead compartment. Give me it's my slide
Sawyer-
rule.
The Sawyer calls Hurley Mongo, telling him the fun time's over. Kate and Hurley leave, and Sawyer asks what it would take to play one more hand, and Jack replies, the medicine you stole from the armory.
Oh, and when
All
they
of it.
leave, Kate says, Hurley, let's leave these boys in their sandbox.
Yeah.
She's coming with the zingers.
I just
Yeah.
hate that Sawyer called Hurley Mongo.
I know.
Well, he gets
He-
called out for
yes.
that later. So
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does. That's a great scene.
In the hatch, Locke and Henry use a barbell to lift the blast door and are struggling as the door motor tries to lower it back down and the lights start flickering again. They get it high enough to put a metal toolbox under it, which stops the motor and the door. And this was stupid because
Yeah.
those metal toolboxes are like
They're not that
aluminum,
strong.
basically.
Yeah.
no, they're meant. They have a certain type of strength. They're not meant to withstand crushing like that.
Yeah, I was
right.
surprised it didn't just crush it immediately, but
Yeah, me too. But
it's a TV show.
If it would have been like maybe like an old school steel one that had like reinforcement,
Right, yeah.
it might have. But those things
it
are
looked
not.
like it was made out of aluminum.
Yeah,
those
most of them are
that's not a
nowadays.
that's not a load bearing shape.
No.
So, of course, Locke immediately tries to slide under the door, and as expected, the toolbox crushes and the door comes down onto Locke's legs, pinning him. Henry grabs the weights from the barbell, which they should have used in the first place, because
Fucking
those
A.
are solid steel,
Right.
and stacks them up to keep the door from continuing to crush Locke's legs. Henry tries to pull Locke out, but his leg is pierced by one of the metal rods on the bottom of the door. So Henry says, well, they can wait till somebody comes. It's only a matter of time. But Locke says they don't have time.
Yeah, why is that? Is that because there's no two-person team in the fucking hatch?
Maybe.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, from the beginning it was supposed to be a two-person team.
Yes.
And from the beginning it has not been a
Not
two-person
once.
team.
No.
No.
Nope.
And almost every one of these cataclysms could have been avoided very, very neatly if they simply stuck to their standard
Had a
operating
two-person
procedure.
team.
Two-person team, yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
If Randy Douchebag Nations was in charge, it would have always been a
Oh my God.
two-person team.
Absolutely.
You're fucking A right.
That was brilliant, Derek.
Wouldn't have
None
been
of this shit
fucking,
would have happened.
fucking Colonel Locke here playing Risk. Like he's
Oh, man.
well, there are some people who are good at operations and some who are more like idea men, you know? Like that's just the way it is.
All right.
Idea people. My bad.
Thank you.
So we go to flashback number 4, and Locke is in the bank, and he opens box number 1516, and it is full of cash. He arrives home and
numbers.
tells... Yes.
Take it. Just take the money, Locke. Just take the fucking money and go on with your life.
That's what I would do. $700,000 for a kidney? It's not bad.
What's your
bad.
dad gonna do? Sue you from the
Yeah.
grave for money that he stole? Just
Yeah.
take it. What are you
I
doing?
mean, the problem, the thing is like it's always nice that it'd be great to have that much money, but if you had that money, all you could ever really use it for is like groceries.
Why?
You can't
deposit it, no,
You can't buy
you can't do anything
but
with
not
that money.
grocery-
over
I mean,
$10,000. It's
Well, you could go out to restaurants and eat there. And
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
y'all are
that's
crazy.
It would be a food budget. It would be food and
Right.
I
clothing
could
and things like that. You
spend
couldn't invest it in anything.
$700,000.
Or you go to Vegas and launder it.
Yeah.
You can do that too.
You could do
Yeah,
that,
if
but
all you
I-
want to do is
Yeah.
if all you want to do is blow it, then 700,000 is fine. If you wanted to do anything with that money from a capitalization sense, you can't do shit.
Yeah.
So-
I'm not trying to use my stolen money as capital. I'm going to go out and have some drinks.
Well, I would, because if I stole $700,000, I'd immediately, I'd start looking into a dictionary. Laundering money. How do I do
Yeah.
this?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
buy a gas station,
Yeah, exactly.
Buy a
or
laundromat.
car wash, whatever.
Yeah, buy a
Just
nail
watch
salon.
Ozarks and get some ideas from them.
There you go.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
I was going with Heisenberg, but that's fine.
So Locke arrives home and he tells Helen to put on her Sunday best because he has taken her out.
See?
She interrupts.
Cash money,
Yeah.
dinner time.
There you go.
Cash money.
But she interrupts him and says they have visitors and it's the two creepy men from the cemetery.
Now, if
The
those
one
guys
with the
were in
pony-
if those guys were in my kitchen, these greasy looking fuckers were in my kitchen, the second they left, I'd have to redo the kitchen.
Yeah.
Just remodel it. You got 700,000.
No, not remodeling. And I mean, first I'd go over it with bleach would be the first thing. This one guy, the one who looks, I guess he looks Armenian, but the way his voice and the way they've got his hair and everything.
Oh yeah, I mean they make him as smarmy as possible.
Oh yeah.
Oily bohunks.
Yeah. I feel like this guy, he's done this, and then the only other work he's ever had is doing every voice for every villain in any Grand Theft Auto game. It's just that really, really just. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anywho, nothing against
So-
Armenians. He just looked Armenian to me. So.
You said
So the one
anywho.
with the ponytail introduces himself as Jimmy Bain, and he wants to ask Locke some questions. And the first question is, have you seen your father since he died, Mr. Locke?
That was a great question.
Yeah. What?
Mr. Bain thinks he isn't dead and that John didn't look too shook up at the funeral. And that's when Helen stands up and tells Jimmy, how dare you, if you had any idea what this man did to him and that they were at the funeral to get past him and let him go. Basically
She's
stole
so
his fucking
ballsy.
kidney.
I
Yes.
love her.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great.
They agree to leave, but ask one final question. What's in the bag, John? And of course, the music starts getting ominous, and you're thinking, uh-oh. But he says it's just work papers, and they ask if they can take a look. Locke hands him the bag, and the other guy, the bigger guy, dumps the contents all over the kitchen table, and it is revealed that Locke was telling the truth.
Which is
not a
completely
big- it's-
gratuitous.
Yeah,
He
it's not
didn't
a
have
big
to
bag.
dump it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
He could have-
Open it and then
he
look
could have-
inside.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
could
because
You're
you'll
gonna
be able to
see
see
700.
700,000 cash.
Yeah, you're going to see $700,000. Like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
So the men leave, and Helen asks Locke if he lied to them, and he lies to her and tells her, no, he was just scared.
No.
And it's so
I'm a home
so
inspector.
bad.
That was. Yeah.
It's such a bad lie. He's so bad at lying. No, I was scared. No, you weren't.
I'd love it if he turned the bag upside down and it was like $700,000 in nickels just came pouring out.
Oh, my God.
That would be a heavy damn bag.
Yeah.
So back at the poker game, Sawyer is shuffling and asks Jack where he learned to play cards, and he replies, Phuket. Sawyer asks what Jack was doing in Thailand, but he doesn't answer, and Sawyer says, what, you don't think I don't know where Phuket is? Just because I
It's
dropped out in
pronounced-
ninth grade?
It's
Fuck it.
Phuket.
Phuket.
It's
Phuket.
spelled PH, but it's pronounced Phuket.
Phuket.
Phuket, so no H. Okay. And just
Fuck
because I
it.
dropped out in... Yeah, fuck it.
Fuck
It's like going to Bangkok.
it. Yeah.
Just because I dropped out in ninth grade doesn't make me an idiot. And Jack tells Sawyer to deal again, this time from the top of the deck. Sawyer laughs and says, well, I had to try.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, he's got a cute smile there, too, and he's like,
Yeah.
gets caught cheating.
But I like Jack's like grin in response when he says,
it's-
"Well, I had to
yeah.
try," and Jack just he like looks directly in his eyes and he's like,
Yeah.
I know you
The
guys
way
can't
they-
see my face right now, but that was one of my favorite moments was that shot, that grin.
The way they look at each other has me like throwing my naked body down on the poker table. Let's please take me. Love you.
In the hatch, Henry has made Locke more comfortable and asks, what does it do talking about having to enter the numbers into the computer every 108 minutes? Henry asks, and he also asks, how soon does the alarm go off? And Locke says, very soon, and tells Henry he needs to go into the vents and the grate in the pantry isn't bolted shut. So Henry says maybe they should wait, but Locke insists. He gives Henry the numbers and the press execute, and Henry repeats them back exactly right the first time.
It's
Oh,
if you
that's
listen to
interesting.
this, and if you listen to it the way he says it, the music that they're doing, it's like pulsing as he says the numbers. Like they're very much driving home with every way that like, you know, something is going on here.
So Henry starts climbing the shelves, and Locke tells him to be careful, but of course he slips, falls, and hits his head, knocking himself out. The lights flicker, and the alarm starts.
It seems like almost everybody on this island has had a concussion at some point.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Hurley and Kate are watching the poker game with binoculars when Libby walks up and asks what's going on. And Hurley says Jack and Sawyer are finally going to beat each other up.
Like, nothing's going on. You two want to fool around or something?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Do it or something. So Jack bets 10 mangoes and Sawyer calls with aspirin and raises a bottle of amoxicillin. Jack asks if he even knows what it is, and Sawyer replies he's been to Tallahassee and something was burning and it wasn't from the sunshine. So Jack goes all in, and Sawyer says he may lay it down, but Jack says he won't because there are a bunch of people watching them, and he doesn't want them to see him lose again. So Sawyer calls. Jack turns over a pair of nines, and Sawyer says, "You went all in with a pair of nines?" And Jack says, "You got me. Show me yours." And he whips it out. And, oh, no.
Whoa.
And Sawyer turns,
Oh, hey. Here comes
and
Lacy.
Sawyer turns over a pair of fives. As Jack gets up to leave, Sawyer asks, "Why didn't you play for the guns?" And Jack replies, "When I need the guns, I'll get the guns."
It so reminds me of that scene where Kate was trying to get his spot on the rack.
She said, if I want the spot, I'll get the spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I splooshed then, too.
I also love how they really do sort of drive home the sort of like dick measuring thing. Like Jack has 9 and Sawyer has 5.
Oh,
Inches. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've always imagined Sawyer with at least
palms.
7.
I don't think so.
All right.
No.
Okay.
No.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Jack definitely has a 9-inch cock.
Yeah, Jack's swinging past his knees. He's got that quiet sort of swagger that basically the inside of his thighs are always bruised from it bouncing back and forth.
All right, so the alarm continues in the hatch, and finally Henry comes to, and Locke tells him he needs to go up into the vents to get the computer. He tells him to be careful again, and Henry makes it into the vents. Locke is lying there helpless, calling out for Henry as the alarm begins to get even more
Alarmy?
faster. Alarming, yeah. And you can just see Locke is just panicking, like he is just freaking out.
Yeah.
He starts going,
So we
Henry,
go to
can you
Flash-
hear me? Henry, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Henry?
Oh, my God.
So we go to flashback number 5, and Locke arrives at the Flightline Motel that shows a plane landing very close in the background.
Seriously, that
Looks
was like
very
right
cheap
on
and
top
fake,
of it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes into his father's room and shows him the money, and Mr. Cooper moves the money into another bag and asks Locke about his date at the funeral and what was her name.
His date.
Locke says his date.
His
Yeah.
date at the funeral. Okay.
Hey, you want to go on a date?
My dad just died. Let's go.
Yeah. We'll get some fresh air, maybe some sandwiches afterwards.
Locke says her
You
name
end up
is
getting there,
Helen.
you're like, let's get out of here. This place is dead.
Good one.
So Locke says her name is Helen and that he is going to ask her to marry him tonight, and his father congratulates him and leaves him to share the money on the table. Locke says he didn't do this for the money, and his father says his cab is waiting. He opens the door, and Helen is standing there and slaps Mr. Cooper, asking him how he could do this to Locke, and they were moving past this.
I love her.
She's
It's funny
She
because he
leaves.
says, Mr. Cooper says 200,000 is going to be, he says, if you leave it here, it's going to be a nice, a great tip or something
Tip
like
for
that.
the maid.
But
Yeah.
he says, 200,000, that'll make a great honeymoon. I'm like, dude, 200,000 better make more than a great honeymoon. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
No
yeah.
shit.
fuck, you kidding me?
Yeah. So she leaves, and John follows her out and ends up proposing to her in the motel parking lot.
So
She looks at
romantic.
Yeah.
So
And you
romantic.
almost think she might say yes, because they show her face for a long time, but she looks at him, shakes her head, and gets in the car, leaving him.
I can't believe she would say no to him, like in a hotel parking lot. Like,
Yeah, well, as he's chasing her
so
out,
romantic.
he's
Yeah.
trying, he's trying
It's
to
Yeah.
I
Explain
think
or
right, he's trying
He
to explain. I
panics.
think, she says to him, "You lied to me. You need his love more than mine." And I think like his response was, "No, I don't. I was going to propose to you, and look, I have the ring right here, and you're the one."
And I got 200,000 now too.
Well, but she's not wrong. Like if he wouldn't be there had he not put his father before her again.
Yeah.
So she's right. I think she was right to say no, but it's
He
heartbreaking.
lied to her too.
Yeah.
I just imagine that he got down on his knees and was like, "Will you marry me?" And Helen was like, "Have you run this by Jack?"
Wow. Yeah.
So while he's still on his knee, he watches his father get in the cab and leave.
Ouch. Just
Yeah, so
everybody
he's just
left
there.
him. Yeah.
He's got
And then there's
nobody
another
left.
one of those cheesy CGI planes landing.
Yes.
So the alarm is getting more alarming, and then it stops. The lights go off, and you hear machinery. Then the lights come back on, but they're black lights, and Locke sees a map on the wall of what appears to be other hatches on the island with a question mark in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
What?
The look on Locke's face when he sees this, it is like kid in a candy store.
Yep.
Fuck yes, another adventure. Let's
I
go.
have meaning again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you see
The
a picture of
island
Jack's
wants me to
face in the
do
middle.
something.
Yeah, that's right.
Then the normal lights come back on, and all the blast doors raise up, including the one that was on Locke. He calls for Henry and crawls or drags himself into the computer room, and he sees the timer at 107 minutes.
Did anybody get
Henry
a little bit sick when the door went up and the metal part kind of ripped out of his leg?
Just pulled out with some
Ew.
flesh and blood.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yummy.
See you. Yeah.
Ugh. Gross.
Man, I think I want some chili later. All right.
Yummy.
Henry comes up behind him, and Locke says, "You came back." And Henry says, "You think I was going to leave you here?" And Henry helps him up, and Locke thanks him for not leaving him. Seems like, Henry's not that bad of a guy, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
but
sad scene. Like the
Yeah.
way that Locke says, like, "Thank you for not leaving me." It was very desperate.
Yes.
It just was sad. The whole fucking thing
Yeah.
was sad.
Everyone leaves him. So.
Yeah.
I think with these Locke ones, they do a better job at sort of like drawing the parallels between his kind of misadventures before the island and where he is now. There's a couple of episodes that have been really, really good at that. I thought The Moth from season 1 was one of those that did that really, really well. I think this is another one that kind of puts the characters in their own, these situations, but the sort of symbolism and the emotional kind of journey that they're on is like very parallel, and I think this episode was really good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
So it is nighttime, and Jack and Kate are walking through the jungle with some really amazing torches. She asks, they're like really, they're
Like
fancy.
diamond
They don't-
encrusted.
Yeah.
No, these don't look like the ones that were made in Rivendell, though. They had some a couple episodes ago that had like vines weaving around them. Like,
Oh, yeah, those.
These look like normal, high quality torches. They weren't designer by any stretch.
Oh,
They got them from
all
the
right.
torch farm, which is right next door to the tarp farm.
The tarp farm.
Yep.
That's exactly.
She asks if he is heading to the hatch and that she wants to join so she can take a shower. Jack lies and says that they have a cracked pipe and the water is muddy. But
Dude,
he
she
will.
just invited him for a shower.
I
Yeah, I
can't
don't
even
care
like
how muddy the
Jack,
water was.
Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote my notes next to this paragraph in the outline just says, "Please fuck." Oh my God. Please. What are you two doing?
But he said he'd let her know when they get it worked out. And then Kate tells him that she was glad that he beat Sawyer. Jack offers to walk her back to the beach, and she smiles, but then sees a strobe light in the distance. They find a parachute and a pallet of Dharma supplies. What? What?
What the fuck?
Kate pulls out a box of mac and cheese and says it's food. I'm like, really? Good job, Kate.
Good job, Kate.
Just
You can
then-
read.
Wow, food.
Wow.
Just then,
a big old pallet of craft dinner.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my
Some
kind of
macaroni.
delivery.
No. Just then, Saeed, Charlie, and Anna appear with their their fancy torches, and Charlie asks, "What the bloody hell is that?" And Jack asks, "What did you find?"
Yeah, he just completely ignores him, sees Saeed, and he's laser focused again. What did you find? The look on Saeed's face. He just stares at him before the scene ends, and he's got that "I'm gonna fucking torture someone" look in his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like giddy almost.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm ready. I am gonna torture somebody."
Yep.
So in the hatch, Henry helps Locke to the couch and props up his hurt leg. Locke asks, how did he make the doors go up? And Henry says he did what he told him to do, entered the code and pressed the execute button, but nothing happened except for the clock flipping back. He was back at the vents when the lights went out, and 10 seconds later, the doors went up. Locke asks if he thinks it is just random, and Henry says, don't look at me, it's your hatch.
I love this entire conversation they have, because I don't know the actor's name who plays Henry Gale, but the way he pitches his voice, like his command over his voice is fucking amazing. And like he can inject nervousness like in an instant into his voice, and like that agitation, and it is amazing how effective like an orator he is in this show.
Absolutely. His name is Michael Emerson, by the way.
Michael Emerson.
The actor. Yeah.
Ben, that was really well said. I completely agree with all of what you just said.
Yeah, that's why he's an amazing fucking character.
Yeah.
He is an amazing character, yeah.
So Jack arrives and tells Henry to get away from John, and Saeed points a gun at him. Jack throws Henry against the wall, and Locke says to let him out, or Locke says he let him out because of the lockdown. Henry asks if they found the balloon, and both Anna and Saeed said they did, exactly as he described it. He says he also found his wife's grave, and that his alibi was completely true, and Saeed still didn't believe it, so he dug up the grave. And there wasn't a woman in the grave. There was a man named Henry Gale.
Dun, dun, dun.
You see the driver's license.
Yes, he's a black man.
Scream.
Black man named Henry Gale.
Yeah, black man.
I loved it when Saeed was like, your entire alibi checks out, and still, I did not believe you. Or like, he was just so focused.
Well, see, when they were at the grave,
guy.
I saw Saeed looking at it. I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to dig that thing up.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would have too.
Yeah.
I would have too, yeah.
Absolutely. It's a badass ending to an episode, though, right?
Especially he had Anna Lucia with him, man. She can do a lot of earth moving. We already know this. Like,
she's good at digging holes.
She'd have that body exhumed in about 30 seconds without breaking a fucking sweat. I would love to find out.
Yes.
All right. Shall we do some fun facts this week? You want to know what we're talking about?
Sure. Yeah.
All righty. I have a few stories about real live people who faked their own deaths.
Cool.
Yeah. So the first one we're going to talk about, his name is John Stonehouse. This happened in 1974. He was a Labour Party member in the British Parliament. And I guess he had aspirations to be prime minister, but his personal life was kind of getting in the way of that. And he was in a really unhappy marriage and was secretly in love with and seeing a woman named Sheila Buckley, who was his secretary. And so he just decided that he was going to be someone else, and he created an identity called A.J. Markham, got himself a passport under this assumed name, opened up foreign bank accounts, and started channeling John Stonehouse's money over to A.J. Markham. And then he decided that John Stonehouse was going to disappear while vacationing in Florida in November of 1974. So what he did...
Good a place as any.
What he did was he took off all of his clothes and left them in a pile near the water on a beach in Miami, and then just walked away and became A.J. Markham. And so the press and, everyone bought it at first, and it just looked like he had drowned in swimming naked in the Atlantic. I guess maybe that was something he was known for. I don't know.
I think I might have used the Everglades to my advantage in that case. I think that's probably a better place for a body to disappear than the fucking ocean, but...
Well, yeah, but not everybody's going to be wandering through the Everglades to find your clothes. Like the fact that he left his clothes and his wallet and all of that on the beach was a way to be found, I think.
I bet it was really that bitch Carol Baskin.
It was that bitch Carol
Baskin. So his wife and like the press and the general idea was they believed that he was dead. The British police, however, were not so quick to agree to this theory, and they didn't think that he was trying to kill himself, but they thought that maybe he had been involved in some sort of espionage or like something. They knew something wasn't right, so they wanted to continue investigating. Well, the way that he got caught was actually just a bit of horrible luck for Mr. Stonehouse, because at the exact same time that Stonehouse vanished, so to speak, a person named Richard Bingham, who was the Earl of Lucan or Lucan, I'm not sure how to say it, he disappeared after being suspected of killing his wife, who was brutally beaten to death along with the nanny. And so what happened was Stonehouse went to a bank in Australia, and he was trying to, as A.J. Markham, he wanted to take the money out as A.J. Markham. Well, what happened was the bank teller became suspicious. She said something was off about him, and she suspected that he was this Richard Bingham who was on the run from the police, called the police, who came, arrested this man, and then discovered that he was a different man on the run, and that's how he got caught. Yeah. And so that is how he got caught, and Australia deported him back to Britain, and he was sentenced to 7 years for theft and fraud. The man, Lord Lucan, or the Earl of Lucan or Lucan, however, was never seen or heard from again, and apparently was able to kill his wife and the nanny.
Huh.
So
Alrighty.
that's how Mr. Stonehouse got discovered. I have a one more, Alfred Rouse. This is in 1930. And this man decided that he was going to escape child support payments for several illegitimate children that he had by putting a body in his car and setting it on fire. So what he did was he picked up a hitchhiker, beat him to death with a mallet, put him in the driver's seat, and then lit the car on fire.
And this guy is out there spreading his seed. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. And so he thought that he would get away with that, and maybe he would have, but unfortunately for him, even though it was the wee hours of the morning, there were 2 witnesses that watched the entire thing happen.
Oh my God.
And so the police knew that that was not his body. And they eventually found him, and he was hanged in 1931.
Nice.
Forensic scientists, however, have still never been able to identify his victim. They did get some really good DNA samples, but have only been able to eliminate people. And so the hitchhiker remains unknown. And Mr. Rouse was murdered, hanged. I mean, I guess it's murder.
That is murder.
Shall we do some best and worst moments? How about we start with Ben?
My favorite moment was when Jack tells Sawyer, when I want the guns, I'll get the guns.
That's a good moment.
Yeah, my least favorite was just when Locke panic proposes to Helen. That's just really painful to watch.
So cringe.
Yeah, that was my
cringe.
worst moment also. I just have when Helen says no. My best moment, though, was the map. the map on the blast door, because I'm like Locke, like, what? Oh, what is this adventure we're going to go on now? How about you, Derek? What were you thinking?
My best was the same as yours, because when I saw that map, I'm like, holy shit, look at all those hatches. And the worst moment was, Helen saying no and all that whole scene.
Yeah, it's gut-wrenching. Christy, what about you?
So my best moment was when Jack and Sawyer were playing poker and Kate's like, should I go get a ruler? And then my worst moment is kind of the same as yours. Mine's more just when Helen finds Locke with his dad. She's so brokenhearted and she's like, you need his love more than mine.
Yeah, that's tough.
But yeah, still all part of that same scene, basically.
How did you rank your characters? And who are you fucking and killing?
My top was Saeed. And then Jack, and then Helen, because I just love Helen. Bottom, Mr. Cooper. Locke is just kind of awful in this one, too. And then we've got to have Henry in the bottom three somewhere. I am going to fuck separately Helen and rained on Saeed. Because in the beginning, when he
rained
was all like,
on Saeed, so wet Saeed.
Yeah,
moist Saeed.
Moist.
Oh, no.
And then let's fucking kill Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
He needs to actually die this time.
Right. My best character I had was Helen. I think she did the right thing, and that must have been a horribly just awful decision to make. But she was right. Locke, he just was not living up to the relationship. And then I had Jack and Hurley as my second and third best. Jack, because he's just always winning. And Hurley, because he's hilarious at the poker table and was the levity again in this episode. My worst character is Mr. Cooper. Fuck him. I'm also killing him. And then I had my second worst was Henry, because he can't stop fucking manipulating. And my third worst was Locke, because he can't stop being manipulated. And it's just really obnoxious. I am fucking Jack and Sawyer. We are going to play Poke Her. Oh, Ben, what were your rankings?
I had Jack in first place. Just like the way that he was, kind of, I was big dick energy in this episode, just kind of taking control and
Definitely.
being like, look, I'm getting what I want. I'm doing what I do. I'm helping the island, and I'm going to kick the shit at you at poker. The thing that you think you're best at, I'm better than you, because I'm better than you at everything other than Kate.
Yeah.
Second best was Sawyer. I just liked it. I like it when the two stags are like kind of, doing their dick waving. That's just good fun.
Yes,
third best was Henry Gale, because I love his character. I love the way he's weaving the schemes and all that. It's really fun to watch. Worst, Mr. Cooper. Second worst was Locke, for the same reasons. Locke just being so manipulatable.
Yeah.
I didn't have a third worst. I'm gonna fuck Kate. Those rosy cheeks. If they're not going to finish their game of 3-hole, then I will finish it for them. And I'm going to kill Mr. Cooper.
Fuck that guy.
Yep.
No, kill
Derek?
that guy.
Right.
Yep, my best was Helen, just because she, tried to get Locke to get away from his father, but it doesn't matter. Second and third were Jack and Sawyer, because I just liked the interaction in the poker game and all of that. The dick measuring. The worst, of course, is Mr. Cooper. Then my second worst was Henry Gale. My third worst was Locke, just like what Ben said, because he's getting manipulated all the time. I'm going to fuck Kate, and I'm going to kill Mr. Cooper.
All right. Ben,
Again.
where does that leave us, our rankings, after this week?
We have a little bit of movement, though not on the top side. We still have Echo at 114 points.
We got a little movement in
Locke-
the back end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The race for second place is kind of tightening up. Locke lost some ground this week, but Kate gained some ground. So they were 17 points apart. Now they're only 3 points apart. So she's closing in, and Jack is actually in a pretty close fourth place. So we have kind of a three-way tie or a three-way race for second and third here.
For second and third. Okay.
Yeah. Bottom of the barrel still Charlie after a couple despicable showings. Then we have Mr. Cooper edging into second place, overtaking Randy Douchebag Nations, who had still been in second place somehow. Randy Douchebag Nations falls into third place, and that pushes
Third
Ethan
worst.
out of the bottom three.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you give us your final impressions, Benjamin?
I think I actually said a lot of this earlier, so I'll keep it short. I really, I liked the way the sort of parallel narrative in this episode, and the way that they take Mr. Cooper and Helen, and then they sort of both of them sort of, I think Henry Gale becomes sort of a proxy for both of them in the present, which is why, like, in the very end, you hear him very pitifully saying, like, "Thank you for not leaving me." She was, he's sort of this focal point of everything that's happened throughout his life, and we're seeing him sort of encapsulate what Helen and his father were. So, and like having the Michael Emerson or whatever, that actor, sort of play this role, I think is exactly what the show needs at this point. They needed somebody who complicates things. And that's what he does.
Indeed.
He's destabilizing things. And it's funny because as things get less stable, you see Locke lose all of his power. And as Locke loses his power, Jack gets his power back. So it's another interesting sort of, sort of power struggle going on. And I like the way that they did it in this episode. So I really dug it. It was one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Yeah, I love this episode as well. It's really heartbreaking for Locke, but I think that it illustrates very well what you can lose by not learning to let go of things. And, everybody goes through their own trauma, given having your kidney stolen is pretty fucking bad.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
But there are things that happen to all of us that we have to learn to get past and let go, because if not, then it destroys our present and our future. And I think it was illustrated beautifully in this episode. And then, I'm also flipping out, like, there's a map of hatches all over this island. The fact that the way they're moving the plot along into some other, goal and adventure, I thought was really beautiful too. And I love that that reveal happens to Locke, because Locke's the one that's going to make sure that to pursue this new adventure. But yeah, overall, I really loved the episode. Christy, what did you think?
I felt like when the blast door came down, and when he saw the map, it was very much like a choose your own adventure kind of situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here are all these little side quests that you can go on.
Yep.
So yeah, it almost felt like a game to me. But it was a really good episode. I liked having a little bit of closure with what was going on with Locke and his dad and Helen. And I also like where we've gone with Henry, because he's fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah. Props to you, Michael Emerson. It's a great fucking role.
Yeah, brilliant actor.
Derek, what did you think of this episode, and what kind of questions were you left with?
I thought it was a really good episode as well. Mr. Cooper still isn't dead, and he's still fucking up his son's life. Basically, he didn't really cause Helen to leave. Locke did, but
Yeah.
Henry Gale appeared to be redeeming himself, but when we find out that he took the identity of a dead man, that kind of went out the window.
A little bit.
And we don't know if he killed the real Henry or just buried him. Haven't gotten to that yet. But I have 3 big questions.
Ooh, all right.
Why did the blast doors come down? What does the map mean in the hatch? And where did that pallet of food come from?
Yeah, those are good questions, Derek. And there are answers to come, but not soon. We'll start exploring some of those questions in season 3, actually. So, yeah, that's it, guys. Lock down. Episode 17 of season 2 is done. Next week, we come back with episode 18. It's entitled Dave. It's a Hurley episode. Yay! It's a Ben episode. And I do have a little announcement that's coming next week, too. So stay tuned. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, y'all.
Bye.
Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trimp. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook to interact with your hosts. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube to watch our episode pre-shows. You can also find us at SpaceBear_media on Instagram and Twitter. Or come to our website, spacebearmedia.com.